What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a profile update to Millennium Exodia. That's right, I really did enjoy this deck, and we seem to be coming back round into a field breaker format that might be a little bit different post Chaos Origins, but I still think this deck is incredibly fun. There's a couple of new cards we've been able to utilize in the deck that can kind of give it a bit more of a push, and what I've designed this deck to do is it still maintains its ability to go second and one shot with the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. But what it does have on the other hand is it has a nice balance that if you do get forced to go first or out of the blue someone decides to go second instead, you can still defend yourself with a little bit more than just making an unstoppable Exodia Incarnate and then relying on just a trap card. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. We can take you through the profile, show you what we've got, explain why we've got it, and talk you through some other alternatives. I've tried to keep this build as budget friendly as possible. There are a couple of cards that you might be able to be like, well, there's a little bit more out of my budget, and I'll give you the alternatives for it. I'll also give you the higher priced upgrades you can do. Most of them are going to be coming in your extra deck. So we're going to start off with all 5 pieces of Exodia, the Forbidden One. Now, you do need to play all 5 pieces of Exodia, the Forbidden One, in this one, unfortunately, just because you do need to reveal all 5 pieces in order to perform the fusion summon for Exodia Incarnate, but it's well worth it. Like, just look at it. It just looks so cool. Yeah. So you want to be utilizing all of the pieces of Exodia. Now, to help Exodia fully transform and give you as much output potential as possible, you are going to want to be playing free Heart of the Blue Eyes. Now, the Heart of the Blue Eyes gives you the ability to discard it in order to grab yourself the Millennium Unk. A Millennium Unk is your fusion spell that's just going to get you so much resource. It does have a very nice graveyard effect, which is what becomes more of a balanced option. So Heart of the Blue Eyes, what does it do in the graveyard? Well, if your opponent normal or special summons a monster that is a level 8 or higher, or has 3,000 or more attack, you get to send that monster to the graveyard, and if you do, you special summon this card back. It's just a 3k boss monster that's always treated as a Millennium card. Now, the most recent addition to this deck was Heart of Gaia. So this is the normal summon for the deck, which is really nice. So again, it's always treated as a Millennium card and Gaia the Fierce Knight. If a level 5 or higher monster is on the field, you get to normal summon this card without tribute. The level of any monster your opponent normal or special summons in a tap position while this card is in the monster zone is increased by 7, which is actually quite useful because you look at how effective Cool Tunes are right now. Not only is this like a sub-counter to Cool Tunes, making their levels all over the place and awkward for them to sync, but it also then does the exact same thing that Cool Tunes does to everyone else, and it makes their XZ's play a lot weaker. It means they have to start putting their monsters in defense vision to make their plays. It also means that their synchro plays with stuff like Red Dragon Archery as well can also be very, very awkward. So it can actually be quite useful for you. If that wasn't enough, you also get a quick effect when your opponent activates a monster effect. You get to send one other face-up level 5 or higher monster you control, card you control to the grave, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Now, it's actually really easy to do that because your other level 5 or higher monsters you're going to want to get to the field are going to be Millennium monsters that you don't mind leaving on the field. Speaking of, Senganjin Wakes from Millennium. So these are the Millennium cards that get to put themselves into the spell and trap zones. One of the, I think it's one of 2 positions that currently you can't draw from off of a Mulchummy. And that's if it comes from the spell and trap zone. And then I believe there was another one that is yet to be confirmed. I don't know where it comes from, where they don't get a draw from. But I remember Tom, so shout out to Tom on this one. At my first Nats commentary, he was like, hey, I've just got a general question. Which 2 locations can you not draw from, or does a Mulchummy not allow you to draw from? One of them was the Spell and Trap Zone, and I can't remember exactly where the other one was, but if you do know, put it in the comments down below. Anyway, I digress. The other is you get to put this card into the Spell and Trap Zone, and then you either pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Unk to special summon it. When you special summon this card, you get to add a Millennium monster from the deck to the hand, so that's how you can get in the access to the Heart of Gaia and then build on from there. The other Millennium monsters that we can play that go into our Spell and Trap Zone, I play 2 Shield of Millennium. Now, I can see the argument for 3. That's absolutely fine. This is definitely your more defensive option. It's definitely better now with Heart of Gaia as well. So I do need to pick up my 3rd secret, and then you would like 100% be playing 3 of this guy. But this one, again, reveal a Millennium Unk or pay 2,000 life points to add a Millennium Unk from the deck to the hand. And of course, you special summon it, and then the exact same, put it into your Spell and Trap Zone. The other one we play is 2 Golem that guards the Millennium Treasure. Again, put it into the spell and trap zone. It gives you an additional effect that the activation of your Millennium Unk cannot be negated, and then you pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Unk in the hand to then add a Yugioh Temple from the deck to the hand. And the Yugioh Temple is the field spell that gives you more ways of getting your Senganjin or your shield into the spell and trap zone. So during the main phase, place one monster from the hand in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell, then place a Millennium monster from the deck into your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell. Only each effect once per turn, and then if a face-up Millennium monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to place it into your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell instead. So just a nice way to get your resource to bring back the Senganjin the next turn and so on and so forth. Then we have the fusion spell in the form of the Millennium Unk. So show 5 Forbidden 1 monster cards from the hand, deck, and or face-up field. It's a shame that it doesn't count the graveyard or anything else in addition to that. So it does mean if they banish a piece, it's kind of over. But then the idea is once you've resolved this card, you're winning the duel or pushing to win the duel. Special summon 1 Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate from the extra deck, then shuffle that face-up cards you control into the deck except Exodia cards whose original levels are 10 or higher, and Millennium monster cards. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn after activating this effect. Shuffle this card into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. So again, just recycles the material, and then you kind of build on from there. The other Exodia cards we play is the 1 Obliterate Blaze. This is your aggressor. 1 level 10 or higher monster on the field with Exodia in its original name gains these effects. Pay half your life points to destroy as many cards in the spell and trap zones as possible. Then equip 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your hand and or deck to this card as equipped spells that give it 2,000 attack for each of them. So you're going to buff your Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate by an extra 10k, which is just mental. Alternative as well, if it attacks the defenses, your monster inflict piercing battle damage. Nice. Your defensive go first option is Exod Fires of Rage. Always treat it as the Exod or an Obliterate card, which gets set during the end phase off of your Exodia Incarnate. So this one is if you control level 10 or higher Exodia monster, destroy all cards your opponent controls. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you get to banish it to activate one of these effects. Add a Forbidden 1 monster from the deck or grave to the hand. Shuffle up to 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from the grave and or banishment into the deck. So it can let you recycle the materials, but you kind of really don't want them to get there in the first place. Then for the non-engine, I've gone with 3 Mulchummy Foolos. I like to play Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, and the reason I like to play this is your Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate gains attack points equal to your life points. So the way I see it is, the Foolos and Ghost Sister can nearly be just as deterrent as each other. Now, I'm not saying that it's always going to happen, but the Ghost Sister kind of puts a little bit of pressure on your opponent because they're like, right, well, I don't want to summon my big monsters because you're just going to get more and more life points. Completely optional, you can play Puruli if you wanted to, but I kind of looked at it as like, well, the Foolos would be completely dead, whereas this can be utilized during other turns as well. You can play Ash Blossoms. I just felt that this really aided my play more than anything else. Then for the breakers, I've got 3 Fallen on the Virtuous, Droplets, and of course Superpolarization. In my opinion, these are the best quick play breakers that you can play. And the reason that it benefits you for being quick play is if you do get to go first, you set these cards. These cards will still destruct your opponent during their turn, and then you're basically becoming a set 4 pass kind of vibe, while also having your Exodia Incarnate and then having your Exod Fires of Rage set up. So you'll have a field clear, you'll have a targeted destruction, you'll have a Super Poly utilized, which will get you into Garura or Mud Dragon, and then of course you've got Forbidden Droplet. So that's if you're going first. So the flip side is if you're going second, Super Poly is very effective in this current format. Fallen of Virtues, of course, is near enough a staple in most decks right now. And then Forbidden Droplet is also a very, very good card. You could consider Forbidden Crown if you wanted to, but you know, you really want to just attack with your Exodia Incarnate. And when you're kind of locking your opponent down with the crown, it doesn't have as much utility going second as it does going first. So it kind of makes it a little bit more tricky to deal with. Whereas I felt that these 9 cards were better than playing, you know, Ashes, Bells, and hoping that one card would stop them. It's more so like, okay, well, one of these will bait out, one of these will break, one of these will then force you into an option you don't want to use. And then all I need to do is resolve the Millennium Unk, which can only really be stopped right now with Dominus Impulse. So if they're on the Dominus Impulse deck, you want to play a little bit more cautiously. But the other is that you're going to break a field, pull out your Exodia Incarnate, and then just swing for game. That's all you need. So that's it for the entire main deck, a flat 40. Like I said, the only one that I would say is kind of, I mean, if you're not going to play the breakers, then play more hand interactions, that's absolutely fine. But I decided to play the breakers, like I said, that could be set. So even if I go first, I can set them. And if I go second and can't complete the OTK, I can still set them and disrupt my opponent. So it gives you the best of both. Moving into the extra deck, so we're playing 3 Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. You don't have to play 3, you could afford to play 2. I still feel that 3 is the right ratio. You've got flexibility in the extra deck, but if you're ever in a position like, I really want to open up a space for a particular card, this is one you could afford to cut down to 2, but honestly, I think 3 is absolutely fine. Then you've got your super polarization targets, Garura, Mud Dragon, and Sea Monster of Theseus. Again, you don't have to play Sea Monster of Theseus. This is one of the expensive options. You swap it out for a Dracus de Pelia, but this is something that if you picked it up early enough, it should be absolutely cheap on budget anyway. I've then got 2 Albion the Branded Dragon. Now this should really be 1 Albion and 1 Ecclesia the Darkest Dragon, but considering Darkest Dragon was like £40 last time I checked, again I went with a 1 and 1, but if you want to step it up a bit and then increase your budget, you'd put in the Ecclesia. For the Link monsters, I've got IP Masquerena, Scylla Hat Rabbit, Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, and SP Little Knight. Now the idea behind all of these is these are cards that you don't mind shuffling back into your extra deck when you resolve the Millennium Unk, but they're also cards that can leave the field in the form of the SP Little Knight and then come back. You've got to be careful that if you activate this, that you're not planning to try and attack directly, because obviously you won't be able to. But the other is that you make an SP Little Knight, you banish 1 monster or a threat or kind of out a spell or trap, and then you're able to kind of pick through whatever monster is left standing, because your Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate will be strong enough to just one-shot anything that is 2,000 or less attack if you have been able to resolve certain effects. The Nightmare Phoenix and your Cerberus are in here to be able to kind of make these with your Millennium monsters, and again what you're trying to do is you're trying to pick off certain parts of your opponent's field. So if there's a monster that is threatening your Unk, then you get rid of it or force it out of the Cerberus. If there's a spell or trap that could possibly affect the Unk, you go for the Phoenix, and then you're forcing all of those pieces out bit by bit. The last 2 cards I play is the 1 Gorgon or Xelophenia, and then again this is one of the ones that if you don't resolve the Unk, but you still need to be able to stop your opponent attacking, you can go into this. Another way that if you choose not to resolve the Unk because getting access to the trap card isn't really worth it, you'll much rather hold onto that Unk for the next turn of the crackback, you go IP Masquerena, and then it can lead into this as well. And then finally, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Again, just a link free. It gets a buff when you use a level 7 or higher monster, which you can do with Senganjin or sometimes the Exodia, but that would be on a follow-up, because what you need to remember is the Exodia will also burn you for 1,000 during your standby phase, so you've got to try and manage that expectation a little bit better. The idea is you want to one-shot punch, win the duel there, and then move on to the next one. And that's pretty much it for the entire deck. Very straightforward, very simple, very to the point. The whole goal is get Exodia Incarnate. But you do need to have that balance that if you can't get Exodia Incarnate, how do you do? Like if your opponent goes, if you were to go Senganjin in the spell and trap zone, not be able to reveal the Unk but pay 2,000 life points and they go Ash, you're like, okay, cool. Now what? Like you need to be able to eat that interaction and go, cool, that's fine. I can then use Heart of the Blue Eyes to get the Unk, or probably you'd use the Heart of the Blue Eyes first to get the Unk, but if they Ash this, you go, cool. Heart of the Blue Eyes, get the Unk, activate Unk, and off I go. That's your OTK play pushed in and ready to go. So there's lots of things to consider with this deck. I like the introduction of Heart of the Gaia. When you're looking at your side deck can very easily be stuff like Lava Golems. It can be stuff like Ultimate Slayers if you want to consider it. If you're going to play Ultimate Slayer, I'd highly advise you to look at changing some of your extra deck up so you can start utilizing stuff like Malong and then some of the XZ's targets as well. And then another thing for the Rabbit, the Angel Statue Azaroon is in the side deck. I wouldn't main it personally. It's just a hard brick you probably really don't want to see. But if you wanted to, you could do and kind of work on from there. I know there are builds that play Instant Fusion that go into Millennium Eyes Restrict because it's technically a Millennium monster, so it doesn't go anywhere. But that's entirely up to you. I like what this deck can do. I think it's a really, really fun deck in general. It's a really budget-friendly deck as well. Like, bar the Sea Monster of Theseus, which is just a format hype card, which you could very easily, like I said, take out and go for something like a Dracus de Pelia. It's entirely up to you. So that's it for the entire profile. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.